بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا، وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. لله تبارك وتعالى. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Inshallah tabarak wa ta'ala, after a break between our last lessons and after a very successful weekend intensive covering the Arba'in Nawawiyah, the 40 hadith of Nawawi, inshallah ta'ala, we make the intention to resume our morning gatherings. And I was thinking about what we are doing in our morning lessons and our gatherings. So I wanted to really discuss the direction that we would like to go. Because our gathering as a group is basically online. And occasionally we meet together. And I would hope that all of us, as we learn online, we're actually working within, as I mentioned before, our sphere of influence and conveying and teaching what we learned. And I'm really thinking, seriously thinking, I don't know how to go about it. I really, honestly, don't really even like the idea. But the nature of human beings are like this. We need to circle our wagons to strengthen our da'wah. So I'm gonna put that, something to think about. We need to circle our wagons in order to strengthen Can we all copy that? Inshallah. That's the basis of my thought. And the reason I say that, do you remember that? I think it was a saying, I don't know where it came from, I forgot. But it said, man, I forgot the saying. If you don't occupy your mind with truth, the devil will occupy it with falsehood. That's it. If you don't occupy your mind with truth, the devil will occupy it with falsehood. Along that line, if we don't have an intense amount of lessons coming according to the 3-4-5-3 methodology, people will look for things and most likely will find that which is opposing to that and will fall into it because of the lack of accessibility to the knowledge. Especially when the knowledge is not available where they're looking. They start looking for similarities, and if they're not well trained, they'll fall into evil without realizing it. I'm going to say some things that'll get me in trouble today, so get prepared. That's why I said circle the wagons, because what I'm going to say is going to get me in trouble. But if we circle our wagons, when the attacks come, we're already insulated. Now you got circle the wagon. But I'm going to speak from my heart to the truth. I was talking to someone yesterday. It was an interesting conversation. And I've never been good, especially when it comes to the methodology of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, of compromising my principles or doing mudahana. Like, I've never been good at that. I'm like probably the worst at it. Well, no, I've seen someone worse than me, but I'm not good. I'm not going to compromise the truth as I know it. I've never been that type of person. I'm just not like that. So because I'm like that, some people can't handle me. So a person came to me and said to me, with all due respect, I don't like to mention names, put people in groups. We all Muslim. And I looked at him. While he was doing that, he said, the nation of Islam are not Muslim. I said, I thought you don't like to put people in groups and you consider everybody Muslim. He said, oh, no, they're different. Not that I disagreed with him, right? But I was making a point. I said, so you identified this as disbelief, but when it came to something you around, you ignored that disbelief. Like someone talking about God is sitting in heaven or above his throne, Allahu subhanahu wa ta'ala wal iyadhu billah, or that he has limbs and organs. But that kufr you ignored. Okay, they look more like you, so that means they're like you, because they're way away from, in some aspects, strange. So you identified that. Why you couldn't identify that? Because that's what he was talking about when he was talking to me. He was talking about me saying Wahhabi without saying it. That's what he was really addressing. I said, so you clearly identified the Nation of Islam as out of the fold of Islam. And you gave your reasons. So when I said the one who believes this is out of the fold of Islam, because you are close to that belief, even though it contradicts Islam, don't say that. That's putting people in groups. But these people, whether you believe it or not, they think they're Muslim. But you identified that they're not Muslim. So just like those people think they may be Muslim, and they may have ideas that are not Islamic, why couldn't you identify that? Do you follow my line of reasoning? You need to follow this. Do you follow my line of reasoning? You can say no, and then I can go and explain more. But if you follow my line of reasoning, then no need. Because it took him a while to follow my line of reasoning. It took him a minute. So I said, what is obvious is that you identify to some degree what is Islam and what is not. That's a good thing, right? But I noticed it was strong when it came to one aspect of disbelief, but very, very, very weak when it came to another aspect of disbelief. This by consensus is disbelief, and this idea by consensus is disbelief. What is that idea? By consensus, it is disbelief to believe that Allah is a body sitting on a throne. By consensus. There's no dispute among Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah in that. That is not a valid belief. So if you judge that, you're talking about the person says by a false interpretation, which a lot of them don't say. I talk to them all the time, that Elijah Muhammad is a prophet after Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They don't have the same terminology as you, even though their terminology is wrong and they're mistaken. What you saying, they're saying they don't say. No one says that, right? So some people don't add to my words. Their belief is incorrect. That's known to us. But what you're saying about them is not true. They don't believe that. And if some do believe it, it is just as you saying some don't believe Allah is a body, but some do. So it's the same thing. Same thing. The same point. The same benefit of doubt you give them, you should give to the others if you're giving benefits of the doubt out here. And I made another thing to him. I said, you're talking about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which we have great honor, and someone misinterpreting something that leads them to a false understanding that is incorrect. But this one is talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they have a false understanding that leads them to something correct. Why are you not just as outraged about Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala as you claim to be outraged about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? How do you judge? That doesn't make sense to me. You are outraged about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you should be, but you are extremely passive when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Explain to me your analogy. That don't make any sense to me. Do you worship Muhammad or do you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I really wonder. I really wonder. It really puzzles me how you can be so outraged about Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what you should be. But when it comes to Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, you have no sense of even shame, no sense of protectiveness for the correct belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That doesn't make sense. To me, that don't make no sense. I don't get it at all. It doesn't. And if you're saying, oh, they got a misunderstanding, well, so do they. If you give them the true benefit of the doubt. They don't speak Arabic. So they don't know al-farq bayn al-nabi wa rasul. They don't know that. They don't know the difference between a prophet and a messenger. In their language, it's not the same. Even though it's wrong, it's not the same. So why are you so hard on them? And they're blaspheming Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you have no thought about it. I don't understand that point. Just as you are outraged about that, you should be more outraged about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In my mind, if you're outraged about that, as you should be, your outrage should be much more severe when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's my analogy. I don't see it another way. Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came primarily to teach us about Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And when I point, I don't mean direction. I mean his lofty status. He has a higher status than all of the creation. All of the creation, no doubt. So for us, if I want to be outraged about something, I'm going to be outraged about all of the things Allah ordered. And among the greatest things Allah ordered is the correct belief in Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I'm going to be outraged about religious matters. And I said to him, I said, but you know what has happened here? You've been overwhelmed by the propaganda machine of al-Wahhabiyya without even knowing it. To the point that they made that Islam for you. And you never learned what is Islam outside of their da'wah. It's a deep thing. Their propaganda machine was so strong, is so strong, that you don't see Islam except through their da'wah lens. And you don't identify it as Wahhabism, you identify it as Islam. And everything that contradicts that is contradicting Islam, not Wahhabism. Check it out. Pay attention. You only see Islam through their da'wah machine. And to you, the da'wah al-Wahhabiyya is Islam. And anyone who contradicts a da'wah to al-Wahhabiyya has contradicted Islam in your mind. Did y'all follow that? I said I'm gonna get in trouble today, but it's important that we start thinking. Because in order you to understand this, you got to understand what's happening. You really got to pay attention. So they've convinced you, don't say Wahhabiyya, but they teach you Wahhabiyya, and they tell you that's Islam, and you believe it. Now, Islam has the name, but it is really the Wahhabi doctrine. And they've made it official that whoever contradicts the Wahhabi doctrine has contradicted Islam. This stuff is deep when you think about it. You're talking about complete brainwashing. And let me give you the proof of that, because I'm very explicit. I said I'm Ash'ari, I'm Shafi'i, and I'm Sufi. I'm Sunni. The Sunni has a methodology in creed, a methodology in practice, and a methodology in spirituality. That's a Sunni Muslim. Has always been a Sunni Muslim since Islamic sciences were codified. All right, I need y'all to write something. Since Islamic sciences were codified, please put that up. This is going to take a minute, but I'm going to walk you through this. Since Islamic sciences were codified, so everything we're talking about, when I say Ash'ari, Shafi'i, Sufi, or Hanafi, or Maturidi, Sufi, all of those things, those names, those titles, were when Islamic sciences were codified, put into a structure for people to learn, and that became the representation of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. That's known. So someone would ask the question, what was the Muslims before Imam al-Ash'ari? Who can answer that question? What were they before Imam al-Ash'ari? Because someone really think they're asking some slick stuff. What were they before Imam al-Ash'ari? Huh? Say that again. You mean you don't understand Islam? What kind of question is that? But who think you can answer that question? What were the Muslims? What was their belief before Imam al-Ash'ari? I want to hear your answer to that. If you understand everything we've been teaching, this is an easy answer. This is like a test. So this is the reality of it. They were the same, it just wasn't codified. Because they had Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam right there, the companions were there, the followers of the companions were there, and they had the same belief. Imam al-Ash'ari came, likewise as Imam Maturidi, and they just put it in a codified, structured format. That's it. No need for a title. And why? Why did they do that? That's the next question you have to ask. So the belief was the same. And before, they didn't need to make it Ash'ari or Maturidi. Okay, so why the need? What happened? It's a part of understanding history a little bit. When people came with beliefs that contradicted the belief of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah as conveyed by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions and the followers of the followers, there was a need to distinguish that belief from all these innovated beliefs that came in the name of Islam. Y'all got that point? So people's coming with ideas that contradict what the Prophet ﷺ and his companions and the followers conveyed. So those ideas were becoming known as the Islamic creed. So the Muslims in those times, the great scholars, they had these methodologies and they clarified them to distinguish them from these vile creeds that were coming in the name of Islam. Do you understand? Simple. Simple. And after that, the Muslims became Ash'ira Maturidiyya. It's the same, that's the issue. In fiqh, they systematize, even before the Aqidah, these practices of Islam, and they worked on it, and that's how they became Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, Hanbali. Same thing, same process. Same process. So the idea of undoing all that, we ain't going to wipe all that out, and we're going to go back to Quran and Sunnah, would assume that we ourselves, whoever's doing that, is capable of doing the same job at the same level of Imam al-Ash'ari, Imam al-Maturidi, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam al-Shafi'i, Imam Ahmed, all of the great scholars of Tasawwuf. It is to assume that we're capable of that. That's an assumption. Right? Now listen, this ain't us as common people. This is what's being fed to us. But some of us don't realize what's being fed to us. So the idea is whoever's opposing those great imams and their methodologies and the tens of thousands of scholars that follow them, that they were mistaken and we're capable of doing a better job. That's the assumption. Do y'all understand that? That's the assumption. It don't have to be said, it's implied. We understand. If they screwed it up and you doing it, that means you know how to do it. You're better, you're more capable at it, right? That's obvious. So if you're saying you're not more capable, then why are you doing it? Don't make sense. If they're more capable and qualified and skilled in those areas and you're not, why are you trying to redo what they done? That doesn't make sense. And so obviously, what is obvious from that, what is definitely implied is that you are better. You know how to do it. They screwed it up and you can do it. So if that's the case, and we shouldn't follow them, and really what comes beyond that is we should follow you, whoever that you may be. Do y'all understand what I mean? So, because as common people, we don't have the ability. So we're going to follow somebody. That's obvious. Now the question is who and why. So you're saying don't follow them, follow what my scholars have done. Okay, who are your scholars that you want us to follow? And when we cut through the chase, here it comes. Abdulaziz bin Baz, Muhammad Saleh ibn Uthaymeen, Saleh al-Fawzan, Nasiruddin al-Albani, in our modern times. And everyone Who follows their methodology? Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. Then we're going to skip generations of Muslims, and we're going to go back to the 8th century. Ibn al-Qayyim, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, Ibn Taymiyyah, and those who were like them. Then we're going to skip again to the time of the Salaf, whom we make. Okay. So now you have a scale. You've already identified who's going to explain to us, because you ain't saying you're doing it. You're telling us who's going to explain to us the Quran and the Sunnah. Now I'm going to compare them to those great imams you say misunderstood. It don't measure up. I'm going to put their level of scholarship compared to those great imams who developed with their students these methodologies of understanding the Quran and the Sunnah in belief, in practice, in spirituality, and I'm going to compare them to them. It's not going to weigh up. Not at all. It don't match. Hundreds, thousands, I would even say tens of thousands between all of them, of hufaz of hadith. Hufaz, people who memorize 100,000 hadith with their chains of narration. People who were masters of the Arabic language, masters of the different types of Quranic narrations and transmissions, styles of recitation, people knowledgeable of Arabic poetry, people knowledgeable of all the different Islamic sciences, collectively working together for over 1,200 years. And you're going to tell me all of them didn't understand well, and they maintained this system. And then these group of people who are not half of them, and that's less, it's way less, but just give it, they're not 50% of their knowledge, they got it right. Come on, man. That's what's being sold to us. Come on, stop. It don't make no sense. For me, what that sounds, I'm gonna be honest, I said I get myself in trouble. To me, that sounds like in order to be Muslim, you have to be stupid. Without you saying it, it sounds to me that you're saying in order to be Muslim on the straight path, you have to be stupid. Cancel your intellect. And actually, that's what they're calling for. Cancel your intellect. That just stuff don't even make sense. Not a little bit. If I gave you that analogy in any other science, worldly science, you would laugh at me. In any other worldly science, any field of study, if I gave you that same analogy, you would laugh at me. Even in sports, you would laugh at me. If I told you the high schooler in AAU is better than everybody in the NBA. The high schooler in AAU, he's playing basketball, AAU, he's high schooler. He's better and more skilled than all the top players, the top 25 players in the NBA. What you gonna say to me? He's an AAA, he's an all-star. He's better than all the top 25 players in the NBA. What you gonna say to me? As an AAU player. That's basketball. You don't accept. But you accept that in your deen? That don't make no sense. I'm talking to us just like heart to heart, brother to brother, sister to sister, no fancy stuff. Just use your common sense. A little bit, that don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. None. Zero. I know a kid. He was an all-star in AAU, in the state, in his local teams. He was the man, literally, all-star. He got to the college level and couldn't do it like that. What he was doing at high school level, he couldn't handle when he got to the college level. And no way could he do that in the NBA. He couldn't even do it on the college level. But on the high school level, he was the man. Nothing but accolades. Got to that college level, whole nother story. Do you understand my point? Imagine the professional level. So that idea of those so-called contemporary scholars, you're talking about at the high school level. You don't even know what the college level looks like, let alone the professional level of scholarship. Every time I walk in my library, I laugh at such a thing. I be like, this is ridiculous. But that's what they're telling us. It's ridiculous. It doesn't even make sense. But that's what they're telling us. Right? And that's what we're up against. That someone took something normally that we would say, would you stop it? And made it our reality. Under normal circumstances, if we used our brain, we would say, come on, would you stop? But we've become so overwhelmed with that propaganda machine. Right? That propaganda machine that we don't even think no more. And you know the biggest thing that they used to do that? They made you think that if you don't accept that, you're going against the Quran and the Sunnah. You're going against if you don't accept this, you're going against the Quran and Sunnah. You're going against the Quran and Sunnah. Which means that all those great scholars who were masters of the Quran and Sunnah also went against the Quran and Sunnah. And the non-master understood the Quran and Sunnah. Don't take it personal. Maybe we did misunderstand the Quran and Sunnah. Me, that's possible, common person. You mean all of them misunderstood the Quran and Sunnah? Who that's what their job was? That was their life, Quran and Sunnah. Studying it, memorizing it, preserving it, conveying it, teaching others to preserve. They misunderstood, and you got it right. or your sheikhs got it right and they misunderstood? What is the probability of that? This is my life. This is what I do every day. I work at this craft. This person is a novice. I've been at this craft for 50, 60, 70 years. This person's a novice. It's no comparison. Not only me, all of my colleagues who we work together in this field are all professionals, skilled for decades, who transmitted from skilled people for decades to skilled people to skilled people. The ones under us are skilled people. All of us misunderstood, and this novice, this non-skilled person understood everything we misunderstood to the point that we should reject all of this and follow him. I'm only speaking to our intellects, which they want us to just get rid of. Don't use your brain. Don't even think. Just listen and don't think about it. Don't think about what I'm saying to you. No. Just listen. And I told the brother, I said, they made you like a Christian. You're supposed to be a Muslim. They made you think like a Christian. What do I mean? Don't make no sense. Just believe it. They made you. It don't make no sense whatsoever, but just believe it. You became a Christian thinking person in the name of Islam. That is insane. Don't make sense. There's some issues that are really, really complicated. This ain't one of them. This stuff is like basic thinking. So we continue the conversation. He got the point, struggling with it, but he got the point. Then we move to Sufism. So you got the point there. We move to Sufism. He said, I don't know about that Sufi stuff. Now, the whole time, he doesn't think he's Wahhabi. He doesn't know he's Wahhabi. He doesn't know. In his mind, I'm just Muslim. Listen to my point. In his mind, I'm not a Wahhabi. I'm Muslim. All of his points, Wahhabi points, but he doesn't realize he's Wahhabi. I'm just Muslim. Because what happened? Their propaganda machine made Wahhabism Islam. So in his mind, even though that's Wahhabi doctrine, to him, it's Islam because of the propaganda machine. So he said, I'm not Sufi. I don't know about that. You're not Sufi. What's a Sufi? Then it goes into all these ideas that the Wahhabis say the Sufis. You know, they worship graves, they gather for dhikr, they celebrate Mawlid, you know, bidah. Right? Not realizing that most of the great scholars that you talk about, all were Sufis. All of them. The top great scholars, all were Sufis. No doubt about it. Read their biographies. Read about their lives. They were all Sufis, all of them. A few exceptions. And even those few exceptions, they had Sufi concepts that they called something else. This is a fact. So you mean the Muslims have, in the majority of them, especially their leading scholars, misunderstood Islam and followed some innovative practices that the Prophet ﷺ didn't sanction? All of them? Really? And we rely on those Sufis for our Islamic knowledge, and knowing they contravene the Prophet ﷺ practicing that stuff? But we rely on them? Our most important texts that we study and we rely upon their explanations were written by Sufis, known Sufis, no doubt about it. That don't make sense. So what you're saying is what we have was written by a bunch of innovators and deviants who contradicted the Quran and the Sunnah. Then why are we reading it? Why are we relying upon it? Reading, maybe we just want to search, but we rely upon it to understand our religion. That don't make sense. That don't make any sense. That don't make no sense. Imam Nawawi was a Sufi. You know that, right? Do y'all know that? Imam Nawawi was a Sufi. Put it up. Do y'all know that? I don't know a Muslim in the planet that don't refer to the books of Imam Nawawi. And rely on his works, even at the top levels of Islamic scholarship. He was a Sufi. Al-Hafidh Ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani was a Sufi. I don't know no Muslim who studies hadith and doesn't rely on the books of Al-Hafidh Ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani, who was a Sufi. I'm just taking I go on and on, but I'm just, for example, I don't know a Muslim on the face of the earth who doesn't rely upon the books of An-Nawawi for their understanding of the deen. Nor do I know a Muslim, scholar or layman, who doesn't rely on the books of Al-Hafidh Ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani for the understanding of their religion, who were both Sufis. who were not at all on the Wahhabi doctrine, at all, that came later. They have their belief to the Wahhabis is idol worship and grave worship and innovation. And the real Wahhabis say that in their books. Because they're bankrupt, they say, oh, well, they got mistakes. We don't follow their mistakes. We only follow them what is right. And they choose what's right, what's a mistake. Come on, man. Stop. Stop. So ultimately, what we're doing here is following a political movement that reinterpret Islam for the establishment of their authority. And we brought that. We brought that. Hook, line, and sink. That's what we're dealing with. A political authority that used Islam, reinterpreted, to give it to us to establish their authority. And we accept it. That's what we're dealing with here. Now I'm going to move to the real hard part about this. And that stuff don't serve us. Now I'm directly talking to us as a people at all. It's destroyed our communities. Worse than the Nation of Islam. That one gonna hurt. Now I'm speaking about on the ground. It's manifestation on the ground. That ideology has hurt the Black community more than the Nation of Islam could have imagined long term. Now it's going to hurt. So he asked me, because I'm being honest, this hurts. We're, in my area, are surrounded by the Wahhabi ideology. That's a fact. But they don't call it Wahhabism. They call it Islam, Quran and Sunnah. Listen to my point. They don't call it Wahhabi. If I didn't say Wahhabi, the people wouldn't even know what a Wahhabi is around here. They call it Quran and Sunnah, Islam. I told you the machine made Islam that Islam. Even the people who historically would have been Hanafi, Maturidi, and Sufi, once they got to the shores of America and they got hit with that political machine, they changed their whole deen. Did you hear what I said? Historically, for hundreds, if 1,000 years, your whole genealogy, your grandfathers, your grandmothers, your sheikhs, your teachers were all Hanafi, Maturidi, Sufi. You got to America, got hit with that political machine and that propaganda machine, and now your whole history of Islam was shirk and bid'ah and contradicting the Quran and the Sunnah. And you actually believe that stuff. But you keep their practices without saying it. Right? That's something to think about. Even when I talk to these guys, they'll be like, oh, no, you know, because I'm straightforward with that, right? They'll, oh, no, Imam, you know, we're with you. You're right. Why are we not joined together if we so right? And you agree. Because that machine is so strong, that's how you keep your seat of power. Because you know if you raise the voice like I do, all that, them politics you playing gonna get wiped out. Because it's so strong, the machine. And we've become so weak as Sunnis that we'll see this contradicting and we're scared to talk, scared to say a word. Let's just get along. We're getting decimated here. What do you mean get along? We could get along once we correct all these errors, these misunderstandings about our deen. We have to correct this stuff. We're going to move forward and without understanding our religion? How? We have to correct it. It's a must. So let me back to the point that I was making. So why we don't relate to one another? Because of that machine. That machine has told us in our communities for the last 30 or 40 years that everybody else is deviant except us and don't support the people of deviance. But they were projecting that on the local black masjids, and the local black masjids didn't have access to Islamic scholarship to realize what was happening. So a lot of people followed that. When they followed that, they destroyed the black community. The Islamic movement within the black community got wiped out. Do for yourself, build your stuff, wiped out. Because we've been fighting each other because someone gave us an ideology that made us enemies. And now we got to unravel that just to come back together. Because its nature is to make us subservient to that political authority in Saudi Arabia. Do you understand? It's designed that way because it's a political movement. Hence, you have to go against everything else and go with that in order for their power to be maintained. So that becomes your Islam. Simple. But that doesn't work for you because you're not Saudi. And when you transfer those ideas into your community and make it the standard, automatically you want to divide your community. Because the nature of that movement is against the whole Muslim nation. But they got power. They got power. That's it. And the power came through oil money and the support of Western governments. That's an entire another discussion. But we got hit with it. And it has ripped us apart. And the ideas that contradict Islam are still present when we learn Islam. So we learned their version, which is against the nation, for instance, and we left that. We left all of our black Islamic movements because of false doctrine. And we moved into a Saudi false doctrine and changed it, and that became our Islam. The same stuff. And we've left, and some of us never had access to authentic Islam. We're following a government that does not have our interests at heart. And we calling it Islam. This is an error. This is an error. and we must admit it and figure our way out of it. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? This is a fact. This is not disputable. You can't argue with that. It's not even a dispute. Now you just want me to believe it. That's another story. We're not disputing this is a fact. Do you want me to believe that or not? That's what the dispute would be. Should I believe that? It's definitely a fact. That's clear. From your own books, from their books. If you read their books, that's what they say. I sit there and I read sometimes and I just be amazed. I'm like, dang, they think we that stupid? And the answer is obviously yes. Keep doing it. Like they run their chains of narration and the scholars, and they go from the time of the prophet, the companions, the followers of the companions, the followers of the followers, skip some people, Imam Ahmed, right? Then skip, Ibn Taymiyyah, a few people, skip, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, skip. Then Bin Baz, like, come on, man, you gotta be kidding. That's our Senate now. That's the golden chain of Islam. You can't help but to laugh at that. That's the golden chain of Islam now. It's not funny, but it's hilarious from the sense of like, you can't be serious. You can't be serious, but you are. And you making that an obligation upon us without saying it. You're making it an obligation upon us to believe that without saying it. Man, if that's not the greatest lie ever told, Santa Claus ain't got nothing on that. The Santa Claus lie is nursery rhymes compared to that stuff. So what is our solution? That's why the 3-4-5-3 Da'wah methodology. To put us in the easiest way possible on the path to learning correct Islam. Because I believe, like all of us do, that that's our solution. But if we don't have Islam, it's not going to solve our problems. If we're confused about the deen and we're having ideas that are not the deen, not Islam, but it's being called Islam, it's not going to work. And it hasn't worked. And it's not working. Because Islam covers all of our aspects of life. So though we may have made some progress in some areas, overall, especially the Black community, we're being decimated. Go look at the average Black masjid and see what you see. And we've been on this idea for a while. For the last 30, 40 years, we've been on this. That's why it's so hard to find a real Sunni Black community. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. And think of all these Wahhabi default communities we have. Look at our condition. It's something to think about. It's designed that way, but we just didn't catch the design. It's designed that way. It wasn't meant for you to go anywhere. It was to help use you to help somebody else go somewhere, and they're well established all around the world while you suffer. This is some deep thinking. Go look. Go pay attention. Just pay attention. Examine it. Take your feelings out of it. Just examine facts. This stuff don't make no sense. Now let me move it on as I close. This is just because I had a long conversation yesterday. It was long, even with some young people, because we was really having this conversation. If we're ever going to have Islam help us, we have to learn Islam. If Islam is going to solve our problems, which I believe it will, we all believe it will. But if we don't know Islam, it's not going to work, because it's not Islam what you're practicing. It's some political ideology from a group of people who had an agenda that don't include you. It's not going to work. It's not going to work, period. Because it's not Islam. What you thinking is the solution, it's not. You have to learn Islam. You haven't learned Islam yet. You've been deceived. You've been bamboozled. You've been hoodwinked, run amok, led astray. You haven't seen Islam yet. And I'm going to tell you something now. Here's where I'm getting ready to add to the trouble. Unfortunately, what comes to us, every group is not so much concerned with teaching us Islam. They're concerned with getting us to follow them. I want to put that. Every group that comes to our community is not so much concerned to teach us Islam. They're more concerned to get us to follow their group. That's huge. I hope you caught that. Unfortunately, they're not concerned with teaching us Islam per se. They're teaching us enough Islam to get us to follow their group. That's a big difference. So no one comes to us, and say, here's Islam, here's its vastness, here's its understanding, use your intellect after we've taught you well and determine what is best suitable for you to apply within your context and in your place and in your time. Here's Islam though. Here's the deen. Here's all of its aspects. And now you have to take it upon yourself to take from that vast tradition how it works for you, which everyone does, right? But they never gave you the opportunity to do that as a people, because you never had Islam itself. You've had some aspects of Islam in order to follow the person who was giving it to you. That's been our plight. And we stop there all the time. And we just, because we're used to being slaves. The Mr. Charlie, the white man, did a great job of giving us a slave mentality. So even though we embraced Islam and tried to get away from the white man's indoctrination, we still think like slaves. That's why black people don't learn from black people. We only will take it if it came from somebody else. And if we sat and thought about it, maybe the one that we're taking it from is not as intelligent as the black man. You ever thought about that? Maybe the one you're taking it from is not as intelligent as the black man. But because of that slave mentality, for you, it's impossible that the black man would know anything or would understand anything. He needs the stamp of approval of someone else. That's us. And that's so that's been our reality. And the one who breaks that mindset is going against the grain that's been set as a trap for our people. And that person is going to stand out like a sore thumb, whoever it be, whoever it may be. So an elder told me something, because we had a long talk yesterday. An elder said something to me, because we were talking about this. He said, and he said to me, he's from old head, from like he went through the nation, Warfty Muhammad, and now he's trying to get to movements and he's trying to learn. He's old. He said, the problem for us is that we may not realize the solution is inside the problem. I said, dang, that's deep. He said, the problem for us is we may not realize the solution is in the problem. That's heavy. In other words, when we start to realize our own value, we will be our own solution. That's deep. When we start to realize our own value, we will be our solution. Man, that's heavy. And I thought about that. Suppose we took off, right, for a minute. Outside dictation on our affairs. Now I'm going to get very controversial, so follow me, because this is a long thought process. I'm trying to summarize it within, I'm supposed to be done, but this is so important to me. Like, because this is my life work, so it's important. Suppose we said, listen, we only learning from you. You can't tell us what to do. We're not even going to allow you to tell us how to think. We just want to learn. That's it. I don't want to join you. I don't want to be a part of you. I just want to learn. I'm only going to build my own community with the information we receive from other than our community. And once we build our community with all that information, then we're going to come to the table as an equal and have a deeper discussion. Picture that mindset. So when we learn, you're never going to be in charge. What's going to happen is we're going to learn, we're going to process, we're going to come back to our think tank, we're going to evaluate everything. Then we as a people are going to determine how that all fits into our reality. And once we got that, we're going to come back to the international table with others and sit and discuss our complete collective reality. And we ain't going to allow none of us to disregard any of us. What sources do you have? Bring it to the table. What sources? Let's sit down together, us, right? as a family, and let's evaluate all this stuff. It's us talking. No one else is coming in dictating. No, it's us. So when we do that, what is going to happen is we're never, because we feel superior to each other. We only feel inferior to somebody else. Keep that in mind. That mentality that we've got from slavery that still affects us today, it taught us to feel inferior to other, every other people, and superior only to ourselves, right? I remember watching James Baldwin, and what's that woman's name? The poet? Uh, they got a beautiful interview that you would not. What's that poet woman name? Come on, come on, come on, come on. What's that woman's name? Y'all know what I'm talking about. I think she's still alive. She's a big poet. Uh, Nikki Giovanni. Thank you, Haja Stacy. They got an interview together. And it was like role playing in a way. She said, I need you to come home, smile at me, black man. You smile at, and in their language, you smile at that white man, and he talking all that junk to you. Smile at me. Come lower your wing to me. He said, I can't. No, you do it to him, but you can't do it to me. You humble yourself to him. Why you can't humble yourself to me? That's us in reality with each other. The Arab man come, the Pakistani man come, any other man come, the African man who no longer is our connection. Don't be fooled. The African man come, we humble ourselves to him. Let a black man, American, come to you and see how much humbleness you got. I ain't listening to you, joker. Negro, who you think you are? You think you the man? Last time I checked, I'm a man. What man you talking about? Listen to, you think you the man? Last time I checked, I am a man. I don't know what man you talking about. That's us. That's a mentality. And we don't even realize how that pours over into our understanding of the deen. We don't even think about it. We didn't connect the dots at all. Think about this stuff. So now we reversed it. You gotta respect the other black man when you're sitting at the table. You follow what I'm saying? You have to, because no one else is in the room. I'm going through this. I'm really going through this war myself. It's hard. It's not easy. Because most of us are cowards. I've come to realize that. Most of our men are cowards. Seriously. It hurt to say it, but most of our men are cowards. And it's designed to be like that, so you never rebel. I make you a coward. I make you a coward. And that's why even our women don't respect us, because we cowards. Nah, I said most. I ain't say many. I ain't stutter. You say most, because sometimes we act like cowards. Sometimes we act like cowards and we know it, and we don't want to. No, I said most. I ain't stutter. Because listen, sometimes the truth hurts, and that's what needs to wake you up. Sometimes it hurts. It hurts. All right, but trust me, I'm among the most. Every 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 time I talk, I gotta make myself not be a coward. Every time I open my mouth, because the the machine makes us be cowards. No, seriously. I gotta make sure when I get started, I gotta say, don't be a coward. Mentally, not the words, but mentally, don't be no coward. Go say what gotta be said. We'll become a coward in the name of Sufism. Okay, I got good adab. No, you're a coward. There's nothing about adab in that. Sufis used to go to war. You scared. And you using Sufism to stay scared. Okay, I ain't in dunya. I don't, but you in dunya all the time, except when it come to fight. Come to stand up. You're a coward. And you just using Sufism as a cover for your cowardice. That's real. I hate to say it. It's true. But when it comes to the black man, that Sufism go out the way. No adab, no respect, no nothing. Let an Arab come. Let an African come. You got the most manners in the world. You don't even know how to talk back to them. You a coward. When it's a black man, you can talk back. You can be disrespectful. But let a foreigner come. Your head is down. You're bowing. Yes, sir, boss. Yes, master. But you use Islam to cover it. We Sufis. You're a coward. Because if you were Sufi, you could apply that to the black man. You could be quiet. You could have good adab with the black man. You could not say anything. You could put your head down. You could kiss his hand. But for the black man, you can respond. For someone else, coward. Am I lying? Am I lying? That's us. And we have to realize that's us because we have to overcome that. We have to overcome it. Let's be real. I see black people praising foreigners. I've never seen them except a handful raise up a black man. Very few. Very few. Let's look at the Sunni or Al-Sunnah. Scene. Show me the black scholars that collectively by us who's supposed to, and I ain't saying scholar, forget it, black person, leader, imam, call them whatever you want to call them, that's respected by the masses of us and honored like the foreigners are in our communities. Give me one. Don't you notice why all of our black leaders who have studied are actually on the payrolls of foreigners or other than us? That's the sign right there. They're either on the payroll of foreigners or other than us, organizations of Caucasian Americans, because we're not funding them. Do I need to get explicit or you got the point? Do I need to get explicit or do you got the point? Because we could get explicit. And it's a shame for us that it's like that. It's a shame. And that's the sign that we don't respect ourselves. We don't. Ahmed Ben Barak, you know what I'm saying. Don't got to get explicit. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's sad. Any of us who studied is a war to try to get that. Respect. Some of us, unfortunately, feel more respected in the communities of others than we do in our own communities. I know it firsthand. I know it firsthand. I know it firsthand. And I'm the least among us. But I know firsthand, my family will tell you firsthand, when I'm in other communities, as opposed to the struggle I have in my own community. If I take this show and be on somebody's payroll and under their banner, they would love to have me. Would love it. So I know that. And I know many people like me. Man, that's my biggest struggle. Yo, man, come on. Boy, I got my bread. You know, they ain't give us no bread. I've been told that multiple times. Don't worry, I got you. But I'm talking about, that's one hit, bro. But what about my family? No, we have these kind of conversations. We do. It's real. So for us to really understand Islam, we're going to have to take that initiative, right? We're going to have to. We're going to have to rebel. It's going to have to be a slave revolt for our own benefit, not against nobody else. For our own empowerment, our own upliftment, we have to have a revolt. We have to. It's a must. There's no other way out of this problem. But while we revolt, we can never become like the one that we're revolting against. Actually, we're revolting to reform you. But we only can reform you from a place of strength because you already don't respect us and we don't respect ourselves, which is worse. So through the rebellion, we would build self-confidence, understanding, and knowledge. So when we come back to the table, we don't come with an inferior mindset. Do you follow what I mean? We won't. But if we come to the table weak, we've been at the table. Y'all don't realize that. We've been at the table, but we was at the table weak. And that's why we're not at the table no more. They ate us. Oh, they weak. Put them on a platter too. We was at the table. We was at the table in the 70s. People don't know history. We, Black American Muslims, were at the table in the 70s. They ate us because we didn't understand. We didn't have knowledge. We didn't even really realize where we were at. We was just happy to be here, boss. We didn't realize it. And that's why we ain't there no more. Other nations, and so were we. We were there. So this is a long story, but I'm getting old enough to realize how important it is. Hold on one second. If I see something I see, just going to extend. Let me check something. 1 second. This is a beautiful thing, but I got to check. I might be imagining. This is a beautiful thing, but I got to check. I might be imagining. This is a beautiful thing, but I got to check. I might be imagining. This is a beautiful thing. Why is my thing not working? Oh, I don't know. I'm sorry. 1 second. Please be patient with me. 1 second. No, young boy should be in their 20s doing this stuff. I know guy over 50. I'm sorry. 1 second. We need young people. We are getting too old. We got to still work, but you need people in their 20s doing this instead of Uh, I'm sorry. This doesn't work. Anyway, I'm sorry. I saw something and I would have liked to hear from some person, but I'm not sure it's that person. But that's an important aspect, that we begin to realize our own value. And once we realize our own value and we learn, then we're able to see the forest and not be blocked by the trees. Right? So let me tell you a story. I'll tell you my own story. Right? Because the person asked me about this yesterday. On my journey to Islam, to where I'm at today, it's a crazy journey. Right? I started out as an Ansar. So you can understand my mindset. I was a young kid, not even a teenager yet, when I started to follow the Ansar Allah community based at that time in Brooklyn, New York. And what was a driving force in those days, I'm talking in the 80s, early 80s, and we still weren't far from that, was Black pride. Black pride, do for yourself, having dignity and honor and having your own Black excellence was an absolute must. Do y'all understand that? It was an absolute must. That's the mentality. Islam, in their minds, was the road to success. That was it. Right? To this day, I swear, if I will put the Ansar children, the youth, in practice, in learning against any Black community in the country, to this day, you won't find a comparison. I challenge anyone in the planet to come up with a Black community today and their children to match the children of the Ansars. With what they had as knowledge and what we have as knowledge, there's no comparison. There's no comparison whatsoever. None. You can't even get close. And the one who says opposite doesn't realize what the Ansar children were like. I'm not talking about Imam Isa. Don't even get in your mindset. Oh, they was on bid'ah. Yeah, that may be true. I'm talking about their performance. I'm talking about their steadfastness. I'm talking about their commitment and their knowledge to what they understood as the truth. There's no comparison whatsoever. Zero. You can't match nobody to them. I'm a product of them. I know it for sure. You can't. That's true. Anyone who doubts it, let's debate. Let's debate that issue. Because when I apply the scale, you're going to apply it to them, you're going to get your feelings hurt. Because you're going to say, oh, they was misguided. You a Wahhabi, you misguided. Now what? Now what? So you want to apply the scale here, but get light over here. That's what I started with. You got Wahhabi doctrine. You a slave to the Arabs. What are you talking about? And you ain't even doing it at the level they want you to do. You're not even doing the Wahhabi stuff at the level they want you to do. Yeah, you better leave that one alone because you ain't going to win. And you know it. That's one you better leave alone because it's true. But that's the coward stuff. And I'm not speaking directly to you, but I'm talking about us. That's the coward stuff. We're afraid to admit the truth, even though we know it. Don't say that. Master might get mad at me. It's true. We've fallen short. That's true. It's not. Who cares what Master say? We should step up. Just that alone is a sufficient proof of what I'm saying. Their children were actually not only knowing Arabic, living together, learning, studying, practicing, they were leading the community in their services in Arabic. The children, black children. You come to Jumu'ah and you're going to see a black child shining. That's a fact. That's not disputable. I lived it, so you can't tell me. I lived it. You had that. It existed. And guess what? Wasn't no Arab over top of you either. Wasn't no Pakistani over top of you. It was all black people. All black people. And it wasn't one. It wasn't one kid or two kid or three kid or four kid or five kid or six kid or 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 kids that can do that. The whole front row could do it. And it was all children. Compare that to we losing our children. They following Cardi B. Compare that to that. Why do I make this point? Because we can do it. So even if we reject Imam Isa, Dr. York, which we should, but he showed us something about us. Even if we reject Elijah Muhammad and certain doctrines, he showed us something about us. Even if we reject Marcus Garvey, he showed us something about us. Even if we reject Martin Luther King in some areas, he showed us something about us. And that's the point we need to look at. You follow my point? We can reject bad ideas because we're in the process of learning. But all those bad ideas showed us something about us as a people that we shouldn't reject. Do you follow my point? Are you getting my point? This is a very important point. Right? This is very, very important. Because it wipes away the mentality, the slave mentality that we can't do it. We've done it. We did it. We did it. I watched it. That's why I'm so hard. Because I seen it. And I'm watching what I watched today. That ain't us. How did we get from that to this? I don't understand. How did we get from men who would go out, sacrifice everything to build a nation till we get to where we got to go somewhere else to get money to take care of our places. I just want us to start thinking, how did we go from that to that? We've been indoctrinated. That's how we went from that to that. Even though we already did the work, we forgot that we can actually do the work. And we marvel at the work of others that ain't even comparable to what we could do. We marvel at the work of others that's not even comparable to what we can do. But we've been taught to hate ourselves. And there we were taught to love ourselves. There's a difference. And when we loved ourselves, even with falsehood, we was able to do amazing things. What could we do with the truth if we loved ourselves? Do you follow my point? Nobody paid me, so it don't make a difference. I don't get paid by no one. I'm not on no one's payroll. I'm not bowing down to nobody. It ain't happening. Because in my little insulated circle, we stick together, even if it's only a small group, enough to make sure that I don't got to dance. I don't have to dance. I'm not dancing for you. Forget about it. It ain't happening. I've been offered to dance. I'm not an entertainer. I'm not going to dance for you. No. In fact, if you deal with me, you're going to have to do some stuff you don't want to do. I'm going to make you uncomfortable. You're going to have to come help. And you don't want no parts of that. Right? You don't want no parts of that. So you're going to leave me alone. You don't want no parts of that. You're going to have to actually get on the ground and live in this reality. And you don't want no parts of that. No. I don't dance. I got a pistol in my pants. Bars. No, seriously, man. We got a lot of talking to do. I have these conversations. Most of us ain't cut out for that. We start making excuses as soon as it blink. Well, Imam, I don't got no money. Imam, I ain't got no knowledge. Imam. Like babies. And man the hell up. No, I'm serious. I see us. We lacking in the man department. For real. I'm glad I'm not a woman. Alhamdulillah. I feel sorry for our women sometimes the way we are as men. Alhamdulillah, Allah, let me be a man. The women got it hard with the way we act. It's not easy. May Allah have mercy on them. And may Allah help us so they don't have to feel such pain of weak men. Everyone has the same goal, but different ways to get to that goal. Everyone has excuses and different excuses to support their excuses. Subhanallah. But I'll continue later, tomorrow maybe, because I gave you the solution. What is the solution? I said it. What's the solution? What's the first step to our solution? I said it, so maybe all the other things you missed the solution. What's the first step to our solution? I said it. Now let me see, will you listen to me like you listen to the other man? What's the first step? So I know you listen to the other man. There you go. There you go. The men, what's our first step? Out of coffee. So the first step is circle our wagons, right? So that we can effectively learn. We have to circle our wagons. We're not going to learn effectively until we learn independently. Do y'all understand what I mean by that? We're not going to learn effectively as an independent nation so long as we don't circle our wagons. We have to become one people with one protective thought of our people. It shouldn't be so easy to pick us off with someone else's ideas, which is very easy today. Right? It's easy. I'll give you an example. There is an African person. Don't mention names. Don't even guess. I watch it though. He goes around the country and picks in our community people right under the nose of their leadership. And guess what? No one has ever said, ho, 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 you dividing our communities. And I know many imams, black imams, who it happened to, and they told me personally, and I watch it. It happened to me. Just came and picked, and I've seen it in many communities. And I've seen other same Africans do the same thing. Let alone, I ain't talking about Arabs, I ain't talking about Pakistanis, I'm talking about Africans come in and pick our community apart for their agenda and take the resources out of our community for his mission. Sad. Now, I want to reverse that. How many times you saw a black man go in somebody's community anywhere and pick off their people? Let's reverse it. How many times you seen a black imam, a black sheikh go in others' community and pick off their people? How many times you seen that? Be honest. That's some deep thinking. But how many times have you seen, to be honest, you have an established imam in your community, you have a leadership in your communities, and some of them outside your community come in your community and pick up followers? Explain that one to me. I've seen it. And those same people would say, that's my sheikh, but the black man who was right in front of you killing himself on the front lines, yeah, Negro. How many times we've seen that? Yeah, it hurt. And some of you, if you be honest, you know exactly the process and the system. You know it because you're a victim of it. But let's not discuss that. You talking, but you a victim of it. You down with it. You the ally of the one who comes in our community and steal our people. You their ally. You're their representative. That's not circling the wagons. That's ripping the wagons apart. But you still telling me I'm down. Where's your black leadership, homie? That you hear and obey. And Allah didn't create a man with two hearts. So your loyalty's all over the place. You already said you broke. So how are you doing both? You already broke. So how are you doing both? How you here and there? You don't got no money. You said it. So somewhere you're lacking. And I guarantee you where that lacking is where it's most needed, in the black community. I have no doubt about it. I live it. If I was talking from a point of I don't understand, that would be different. I live it. It's my life. I see it all the time. I watch us. I watch it. I watch on the internet praising people who are not in your community, who don't come to do nothing but steal from your community and take from your community. And you call it teaching. Hmm? Taking all the resources that intelligent people in your community, the ones who have a desire to learn, and leaving your community bankrupt. I see it all the time. I watch it all the time. I watch it all the time. So that's the first step. Circle our wagons. That's a protective barrier. You can't just come infiltrate this. It doesn't happen. And it's a clear statement. We will always benefit from Islamic knowledge, but you're not running nothing. Don't even think about it. You not running nothing. Don't even think about it. I want to share something to you. One leader said to me from among another community. He said to me, and this is a thought. He said to me, we will cooperate with you and we'll let you be independent. Huh? Say that again. Say that again. We'll cooperate with you and we will let you be independent. Was that ever up for discussion? Really, was that ever up for discussion? But in their mind, that's how it goes. They didn't even see nothing wrong. It just flowed. We will let you be independent. Was that ever up for discussion? Was that ever a talk? Was that ever a discussion? No, that's how it goes. Didn't you get the email? No, I missed the email. No, the email is you're black. We're in charge. So we have to let you do something. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the email. Think about that. We'll let you we'll let you govern your own affairs. It wasn't funny that they said it. It was funny that they know we believe it. That was the funny. They know we believe that. Alhamdulillah, they won't let me do my own thing. Huh? Let me join them. See, boss gonna give me some power. I don't know about you, Negro, but boss gonna give me some power. And guess what we would normally say? Now, inshallah, don't worry, boss. I'll keep the Negroes in check. Thank you, boss. I will keep the Negroes in check. So boss don't got to deal with the rest of the Negroes. You deal with them and I'll control you. Because boss don't want to deal with the Negroes anyway. So let me just give you some independence. I'll control you and you control the Negroes. How about that? Works fine for me. And some of us would say, works fine for me too, boss. Thank you. Because I don't know how to be powerful myself, only when you grant me power. I don't know how to build a nation. I only know to follow you. But I do know how to step on the necks of some Negroes. I'm good at that. I can do that, boss. I can put my knee right on their neck. You don't have to get dirty. You don't even have to bend down. I'll do it for you, boss. Just give me your doctrine, give me your understanding, give me everything, and load me up, and I'll take it back. Yeah, we got to circle our wagons. This is us. I see it all the time. I see it all the time. You know why I recognize it? Because I was just like that at a point in life. I was. I drunk the Kool-Aid too. Couldn't tell me different. I drunk the Kool-Aid. I understand. I did it already. That's why I recognize it. I did it. I understand. I used to do it. So that's the first step. Circling the wagons so that we're only dealing with us. Now, when we deal with us, the whole conversation is going to be different. When we're only dealing with us, the whole conversation is going to be different. If it's just me and you in the room, it ain't going to be the conversation if it's me, you, and the boss, quote unquote, the sheikh, the other. If it's just me and you in the room, that conversation is going to sound totally different. Would y'all agree? Let's put the conversation, it's all blacks in the room, black Muslims, what that conversation going to look like, or what it's going to look like when it's us and someone else. Who agrees that the conversation is going to be the same? Be honest. If it was just us, is the conversation going to be the same? It's not going to be the same at all. So that's a reality. So in order to have a real conversation, we have to all be in the same room together. Because even if I'm going to have the same conversation, this one is not, he's not going to have that conversation. He's going to do the I don't know stuff. It happened. We be in the conversation, someone would say, now I gotta go check on, I gotta go get some permission. Huh? So that's a different conversation. So it means, why are you here then? Then I gotta have someone else because you can't even talk. So that's important. It's not racism. Every nation does it. They don't talk to us. They just go do their stuff. They don't even consider us. They just go do their stuff. And then pass it on to us and tell us to follow it. We weren't included in none of the discussion. Zero. It happens all the time. You watch it, you attend, you support. You never in the conversation. It's done and then given to you. I was just having a conversation with people about that yesterday. Put on an event and said, what's about that event, Imam? I said, don't have nothing to do with us. It's politics. I mean, they didn't talk to us about that event. They put on an event and they said, we need a black face, come. And I don't mind going to be a black face because I'm going to talk. They already know that. So you invited me, you know what's coming, right? I don't have a problem with it. I mean, you did your thing. I respect that. We need to do our thing. So while I'm there, I'm going to mention it. You did a great thing. Hey, we also need to do a great thing too. Hey, don't invite me if you don't want me to say the truth. Don't invite me. I'm not going to come dance. I'm not going to do that. I don't dance. I told you that. So you invited me for your politics. Now I got to do my politics. It's equal. It's fair. Why you only one get to do your politics? Why don't we have politics too? Don't we have concerns? Don't we have issues? Well, why I got to come and do your politics? Why I can't talk about our concerns? Or just don't invite me. And then we need to do our own thing. And I don't have a problem with that. We'll do our own thing. No problem. Any way you want to cut it. You could do it, invite us, and then on your platform, I'll mention our issues. Just like if we give you our platform, you're going to mention your issues. Nothing wrong with it. I don't see any problem. I don't have a problem with it. Now the problem would be if we get invited and we don't talk about our issues, then that's our fault, not theirs. We changed the conversation because we're on their platform. That's our fault. That ain't their fault. They gave you a platform. Talk about your issues. Because if you give them one, they're going to talk about their issues. No problem. And there's nothing wrong with it. You just got to see yourself as valuable and your concerns as valuable and your needs as valuable. And you got to have people that are courageous enough to talk about your concerns and issues. That's it. Because your concerns and issues are just as valid as everyone else's. That's it. The concerns of my community are just as important. Every time I see young kids get killed, get go to jail for 20, 30 years, I'm looking at my community being decimated every day. And it's been happening for hundreds of years. Laws made specifically to devastate my community that's going to go for generations. They just better at it. Same war, they just better. They're skilled warriors. They realize you don't always have to physically decimate a person to destroy them permanently. Some people ain't learned that yet. So they just got to drop bombs on you. Others have learned to put bombs that you'll never recover from and you ain't even get hit physically. Same stuff, ain't changed. You know how many generations of African Americans have been destroyed and will be destroyed in the future just because of the war on drugs that was targeted for our community specifically? You know how many great minds are sitting behind those walls for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, life, ripped our chains of narration in our families permanently. You know how much that exists? And no one say nothing about that. Negroes, don't worry about it. And you ain't catching it. Then they go in there and they try to get reformed, some of them through Islam, and they get a false doctrine. And then they come back with that false doctrine and help destroy the community outside. And they whooping us left and right, and we ain't paying attention. But nobody better not say nothing. You know how many years so-called students of knowledge been fighting each other to be servants of someone else? Seriously, think about it. Go look historically in those movements and look how many students of knowledge who never became sheikhs. And then when they became, the next group came to take out that group. And then the next group came to take out that group. And all of them reporting to the same people. You ever thought about that? And it's like that to this day. You don't see that happen in no other community. Only the Black community. That don't happen nowhere else. Only in the Black community. You don't think we need to wake up? All right, I've been far too long with this. It's just so important to me. And I wish more of us would have real talks. I swear I do. I really do. I love men. I love talking to men. I do, I swear. I love talking to men. It's a beautiful conversation. Levon Brown, you talking to me? You know I'm gonna get you in trouble, right? You know I go hard, bro. Sure you want to talk to me? You know I go hard. But you do need to talk to me because we need to go hard. You can't get this done without going hard. It's too many of us taking the road of being passive. That ain't working. We're getting slaughtered and hoping we shall overcome. Okay, keep singing that song. We shall overcome one day. Yeah, okay. Keep singing that song. Don't forget what Martin Luther King said. I believe we're integrating into a burning building. Don't forget that part. I believe we're integrating into a burning building. Think about that. And I believe that we've integrated into a burning building. In the name of Islam. That's my feeling. Some people may not see it. But I don't believe we all way in yet. We could get out. We could put out the fire too. And actually, we can help the situation. But we got to have men on the front line. We got to have men on the front line. I believe it ain't too late yet. But I honestly believe if we go 2 more generations, we done. And you know, some people, oh, Allah will help us. Not necessarily. He gave you the tools to help yourself. And you ain't doing nothing. So now you can't blame him. You didn't do anything. I gave you everything. I gave you the resources. You didn't use them. I gave you the ability. You didn't do it. You know? And I'm prepared for that. Because guess what? I tell you this. I don't believe I'm going to live to see it. I don't. I'm convinced because I know what it takes. And I know I don't got that kind of life. I'm not going to live that long. I mean, there's miracles that happen. I can live to be 200. I highly doubt it. That's not the custom, but it's possible. It's mumkin. So most likely, I'm not going to see it. So my job, from how I see it, is to awaken in us the necessity of doing it to succeeding generations. And guess what? It might not even be me or my children. It may be someone else who's been listening, who was inspired, who goes and does the work. What I do believe is I see the making of it. I do see that. But it's a lot of work. And the biggest job is getting us to see the necessity of the work and that we can do it. Two things: getting us to see the necessity of it and to convince us that we can do it. But if we don't realize we're sick, we don't see the necessity. And if we don't have access to medicine, we don't believe we can do it. So there's two problems. Some of you know what I'm talking about, y'all. That's why you're here and listening. You know exactly what I'm saying. I don't mean you agree with everything, but you see my point. You see it. Other than that, you wouldn't waste your time listening. So may Allah make it easy. But inshallah, let's just keep pushing and believing in ourselves. One person at a time. And if each of us make a sincere effort, inshallah, in our time, one of us got to be like 1,000 people. So you got to work hard. And Hajj Tamir, no, master, don't let go. Not easily. I'm not letting slaves go easily. No, that's not going to happen. No. I'm going to fight tooth and nail to keep you in where you at. I'm not just letting you go. Don't think that's easy. No, absolutely not. No way. Not doing that. So we got to fight for our freedom. We got to be determined to be free. And the one who's benefited from your spiritual, mental slavery don't want you to be free. It's why would they? They're benefiting from it. You get free thinking, you might go do for yourself. And then what I'm going to do? Because I'm not as skilled as you. I do realize that. I need your labor. I need your hands. I couldn't do it all by myself. So I can't let you free. No. All right, may Allah make it easy. Oh, I got a few questions. I'm sorry, I forgot all about the questions. Some asked question. This one's a real, but I ain't running. Someone says, what does ahbash mean? I don't know if that person's still here. What does ahbash mean to you? I don't know. I know what ahbash means to me. What does it mean to you? So maybe that's the first question. I should answer your question with a question. What does ahbash mean to you? So then I can see if we're talking about the same thing. If you're still here, I don't know if you left. So I'll give you a second. I'll go to the next question. If you can tell me what ahbash means to you, then I'll tell you what ahbash means to me. Are you including yourself in that? Say, of course, man, of course. It's a struggle to not be like that. Of course, absolutely. Absolutely. That's the biggest struggle, to get out of that. Man, you don't know how deep that stuff runs. That's a war. That's a war. You know how hard it is to look my teachers in the eye and say that don't work for us? That's hard. It's people taught me. They my teachers, but they don't live in my reality. They don't understand. I know that. So you know how hard it is to tell your teacher that don't work for us. In fact, that's counterproductive for us, Sheikh. We can't do that. That's counterproductive. We can't do that. I know you don't understand. And that's why I have to tell you, it don't work. It's killing us. And Sheikh, much as I love you, I can't allow you to do that. You can't kill my people, even by accident. No. And if you respected me, you would take my advice because I live it. I'm on the ground. I'm watching what that is doing for us. It's killing us. Can't do it. That takes courage. It's hard. And I have to do it. And and sometimes because that's the objective of them. They have an objective. And it works for them. It doesn't work for us though. I'll come back to that Ahbash thing if this person could answer. I'll come back to that and give you exactly what I'm saying. They'll get mad, but so what? I don't care. I want you to change. I don't care if you get mad, right? So I'll answer that. So yes, I'm suffering too, bro. That's why I'm talking about it so much, because I hate it. I'm talking to myself as I'm talking to you. Sheikh, do you think it's possible to attain Islamic knowledge without a teacher? No. No. Everyone needs a teacher. That not a slave master, a teacher. There's a difference. Do you think that it's possible to attain Islamic knowledge without a teacher? Absolutely not. You can't do it. It doesn't work. However, you need a teacher, not a slave master. There's a difference. And you need to be able to distinguish between the two. Is everybody clear on that question? There is a difference between a teacher and a slave master. And I'm using the harshest words possible for us because we need to distinguish between the two. He's my teacher, not my master, not my slave master. There's a difference. It's my teacher, and I respect him as my teacher. He's not my slave master. That's another story. I'm not a slave. And there's no contradiction between the two. In fact, if I make him my slave, if I make him my slave master, I've disrespected him as a teacher. Do you understand that? If I make him my slave master, I have disrespected him as a teacher. Because no teacher teaches you to be a slave to anyone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No true teacher teaches you to be a slave to anyone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's a real teacher. And I've had real teachers who refused for me to be their slave. Absolutely not. So no. So what does ahbash mean? I don't know if this person left, so let me answer it. What I understand is al-ahbash. This is what I understand. This is my understanding. Ahbash is a group of people who follow a great Islamic scholar from Ethiopia, Al-Habasha. So they're named Ahbash by people because of following that sheikh. The Ahbash, that group, known as an organization in English, AICP. Right? Let's get that straight. Their foundation, they are Ash'ari, Shafi'i, Rifa'i. That's their official position as an organization, their methodology. They are Ash'ari in creed, Shafi'i in fiqh, and Rifa'i in tariqah. They have the same belief, the same practice, the same spirituality as traditional Sunni Islam. That's their foundation, no doubt. Anyone who reads their books, anyone who studies, knows their sheikhs, they knows that's their practice. From their side, I'm talking about. However, they have a level of strictness that, in the eyes of some other Sunnis, is too rigid, which leads to excessiveness in areas that they deem that don't need to be that excessive. Namely, in the issue of a takfir, mainly, and in some other issues. But the deepest issue is the issue of a takfir. That's it. They are very strong against the Wahhabiyya, probably among the strongest on the planet Earth as an organization. That's it. That's the Ahbash. Now, if you get into individual things, like every other group, you're going to find things you like, you're going to find things you don't like. But that's with every group, if you be fair and honest. But are they Sunni? Yes, they're Sunni. Do we agree with all of their methodology? Absolutely not. But they're Sunni. And if you ask me, I think they're necessary in our time. Some of their things is extremely necessary. Some things I think we as a people can do without. And that's our job to distinguish that. That's how I feel about the Ahbash. I'm not a Wahhabi, so you're not going to get me to say, oh, I ain't a Wahhabi, I ain't a Wahhabi sympathizer, I ain't in none of that. So you're not going to get me to do that. Even if I don't agree with all of the way they do things, you're not going to get me there. Do you understand my point? That's a group. They have their ways. They are Sunni. The ways they match with us, we listen. The ways we don't agree with, we don't follow. That's it. We're not slaves. We don't do it. Do y'all follow? Is that clear? That's my position. We're our own independent nation. We're not slaves to anyone. So if we can benefit from you, we benefit. Areas we can't benefit, we don't benefit. Clause, that's the end of that discussion. For us, we're not nobody's slave. We're not. We are an independent nation of people who have the right and the necessity to think for ourselves. If there is benefit, we take it. We accept. If there's something that's harmful to us, we don't accept, period. No matter who it is. That's it. We're not slaves. We don't think like slaves. We don't act like slaves. We don't move like slaves. We are free people. That's it. And the discussion I'll have with them. We're not arguing that. I'm Ashari. We're Ashari. We Shafi. We follow Tariqa. So we share the same ideas. Maybe some way you look at some things, we don't see it that way. That's it. And in those areas, we're not going to agree. In the areas we agree, we're going to agree. That's it. But that goes for everyone else too. And we're not intimidated to say that. It just don't work for us. So we're not doing it. And one of the things don't work for us is to have someone else leading us. We can't afford to do that. No. We must lead us. Whoever that leader may be, it must be from us. And then we can cooperate with you in all that is good, but you can't lead us. No. Did you hear that? That applies for everybody. You can't lead us. No. We have our own circumstances, our own reality. We have to deal with that. We must lead ourselves. Whoever among us is that leader, we need to determine that, not you. We're going to determine who's the best suited leader for us to take us on a journey we need to go. But other than that, we can cooperate, but you can't lead us. No. No, you can't. Is that fair? Yes, I think it's fair. Just like we ain't leading you, right? You saying the same thing. You can't lead us. That's obvious because that's why we're not leading you. We're saying the same thing. You can't lead us. And that should be obvious. That's why we're not listening to you, right? So it's all fair. No problem. Now, where can we cooperate? We can cooperate here. We can cooperate like nations do. No nation agrees with every other thing of another nation. No nation in the whole world. No nation agrees with another nation in every point. But nations cooperate, don't they? They do. And if it get too ugly, they go to war. If it get too ugly, they go to war. That's nations. But they're always trying to prevent a war and know how we can negotiate. But if anyone try to transgress the other, war is coming. Count on it. If you try to transgress, war is coming. That's how wars start. Somebody's transgressing on someone's what's that called it? Someone's independence. Someone's trying to subdue and subjugate somebody else. There's going to be a fight. But long as everyone expect the other one's autonomy, no problem. We're going to negotiate and we're going to work it out. That's life. Why is it for the Black man and woman, that's not a reality? They have to be in a subservient position. I don't agree. I don't agree with that at all. And I live long enough to see that we're capable of handling our own affairs. We are. We are capable. I'm telling you, I know, and I'll stop. I'm supposed to pin stop. I know. I always say that, right? So you know that means a half an hour more, right? No. But I know if I had the ability and the help, all I need is money. Really, that's all I need is money. Our problem is money. It's sad that that's the problem. All I need is money. If I was well funded, this stuff be easy. It's just money. That's it. If I had the money, I would go get the leaders we need and I would assemble. We have them. I know who they are. I would pay them to help us free ourselves. It's only money. Seriously. It ain't nothing but money. It's sad, but that's true. People worrying about their sustenance. That's it. If I had a budget that I could pay them to convince them that we got your back, they would come out blazing. They would come out blazing. They already know nothing. I'm not saying nothing they don't know. But we don't have no money. It's great. I could pay an honorarium here and there. Y'all don't know this game. This is deep. You don't really know what's going on. I feel like Cat Williams or Monique. I'm sitting on the couch with Shay Shay. I do, man. It's frustrating. I'm telling you, man. You don't know what goes on. For real. So we don't realize how bad we need support. Look at this. Pakistani, Bengali, and Egyptians all have their own representation. Check out the annual Islamic Heritage event coming up in Tuesday. That's true. And we ain't had nothing to do with putting it together. We are only invited as guests for the political look. Because after this, ain't nobody talking to us. That ain't happening. That's real. But we got to be smart enough to say, hey, listen, I understand that. We got to be man enough to say, I understand what y'all doing, but check this out. We got to eat too. No. We got to eat too. Watch me at the table. Watch my work. Either you don't invite me, or if you invite me, you're going to be fair. That's how that's going to go. I'll come. I'm not against you doing your stuff. I'll be there, inshallah ta'ala, and I will support. But our issues are not going unmentioned. Won't happen. Right? It's fair, I agree. It's fair. You should do that, and so should we. And then if we all did it and we collectively came together with honesty and fairness, we all win. But that's no one else's job. That's our job. That's our job to be men. That's our job. We can't tell another man to be a man for me. No, you go be a man. That's our job. And once we do that, we be all right. Because we should be allies, not enemies. We're Muslim. But that can't be one way. That got to be both ways. We're only Muslim when it's your concern. But when it's our concern, you brothers, may Allah bless you. No. No. The same concern you have for your concern, you must have for our concern. It's fair. That's how we have to be. And we have to be prepared for people not liking us for doing that. Who does he think he is? He thinks it's all about him. No. I'm okay. My people's suffering. I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm all right. But if my people are suffering, am I really all right? If my people are suffering, am I really all right? Even if apparently I'm all right, but if my people are suffering, am I really all right? No, I'm not really all right then. And then I'm just doing as bad as the least of us. And that's how I have to think. So I have to free the least of us from that problem so that we be all right. I went in the masjid the other day. All right, I said I'm gonna stop. All right, I gotta go because I'm giving y'all too long. But these are serious conversations. They're not 5-minute conversations. And they need to be back and forth and exchange and talk. And but we got to get to the table. We got to have brave black men that really want to sit at the table. Most of us scared to death to sit at a table with a real man. We make all the excuses not to sit at a table with a real man and look them in the eyes and say, this is how it's going down. You ain't telling me nothing, Joker. You ain't even did Atlanta yet. Stop talking that nonsense. We ain't been to Atlanta at your invitation yet. You don't want to have no real talk. You want to have a private meeting that so you can soothe your ego. Knock it off. You know me. Why you keep picking? You know I'm gonna hit you back. We should have been in Atlanta at your invitation. Ask Imam Naim. Imam Naim will tell you why we ain't in Atlanta yet. You making all the moves. You got an organization. You doing all your stuff. Why we ain't come to Atlanta yet? We ain't asked you for no money. We asked you to just set it up. You can't do that? That's hard. And then if we do it ourselves, we wrong, right? But we asked you and you ain't did it. There you go, Imam Naim. Hit him up. We asked you and you ain't do it yet, but you always talking. Now, if we do it ourselves, oh man, they came in here and they did their thing. Well, we asked you, and you came up a million excuses why you couldn't get it done. And men don't make a bunch of excuses. We get it done. Men don't make a bunch of excuses. We get it done. Ain't no best time. The same time you can invite others who ain't your people and find the best time for them, find that best time for us. Since you want to be, hey, don't pick the bear if you don't want him to scratch you, right? The same way y'all find time for someone who ain't your people, for the shake, find time for your people. Make a suitable time for your people. Hey, you know how I go. And I'm going to leave that there. You think about it. Imam Naim, do you know what I'm talking about? Is it clear? No coffee. I'm done. All right, I love you. Listen, despite telling you the truth, that doesn't mean I don't love you. You know that. Despite speaking the truth, doesn't mean I don't love you, and you know that. This ain't stuff I just do on the internet. When I see you face to face, phone to phone, whatever, I'm gonna tell you the same thing. Stop it. I just be more explicit personally because but stop. It's it's it, it, it's high time that we stop BSing each other and fronting. We don't got time for that. It's high time that we have honest, real hard conversations. Because our enemies are not playing with us. Our enemies are not playing with us. They're not. And sometimes our enemies look like our friends or act like our friends. But they're doing the most treacherous things to us. But we sleeping, so we don't accept. We know it, but a little inferior. So I gotta accept. No, I don't have to accept that. beat it, kick rocks. We ain't doing that. Call it whatever you want. We ain't doing that. And the more of us do that, watch how fast we move. And I'm not speaking just about myself. It's others who feel the same way. We need to circle our wagons and strengthen ourselves. And knows the best ones to do this, but they're tired. Our elders. Our elders see where we're going, and they know it ain't right, but they older. They can't do the fight like that no more, right? But our elders been through it. They know. They know exactly what I'm talking about. But they elders, they cannot fight no more. They can't be on the battlefield. Their knees hurt. We need to be on the battlefield. You know. Okay. Barakallahu bikum wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. And all what I said, one day, I'm going to just do all that the way we need to be diluted. Just Quran and Sunnah, and show it to you that way. This was just me talking to you heart to heart. I'm going to do it another way to show you through the Quran and Sunnah as they've programmed us to think we're doing, so we can see it that way too. Inshallah. Barakallahu bikum. Today's, inshallah, if we don't see you in the coming days, we'll see you on the Black Imams Roundtable on Tuesday, which the great Imam Naeem Abdullah will be back, right? But inshallah, if Allah make it easy, I'll see you before then in one of these mornings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.